Hey Hofstra fans, it's time once again for the WBB Masons Coaches Report. I'm Rob Joyce, joined as always by the head coach of the Hofstra women's basketball team, Krista Kilburn-Steveskey. Coach, how are you?
Doing okay, doing okay.
Your team lost last week to Princeton and then to Auburn over the weekend. We'll start with Princeton, 84-54. They had a 19-0 run in the first half. Typically it was the second half where you'd have that 5-minute stretch, but
right.
How do you keep it limited and have a full 40-minute effort?
Right, I mean obviously that is what we were working towards to do here tonight. I kind of been using a buzzword of saying, 8 minutes of bad basketball. Sometimes it's a little more than that, sometimes, but there still is that stretch in the game. The momentum shifts, the lulls, the critical time where you need leadership to emerge, whether it would be either by positive reinforcement, whether it be by obviously making a basket, getting stops, just something in the points of the game there that's causing, the margin. We've done things of making a lot of timeouts, using all my timeouts. The Marist game, kind of the revelation of a young team and what we're becoming, and we need that. We need those critical moments for something to emerge, leadership to emerge on those points on the floor.
What were the positives you took away from that game?
Princeton was a tough one because it is what it is. They played a great game. When you make mistakes, they capitalize. They try to bury you, and we didn't give ourselves a fighting chance. People have been playing consistent for me. Anmanyuku's been trying to be the consistent force. Shantae's trying to find her way. You know how phenomenal she is, everything she's done, and both ends of the floor is what we're working on. She's working defensively, not in the post play, down there on the defensive end. So there was, in the Princeton game, it was a little bit tough. I thought Andriana was trying to lead the troops and really get a piece of the paint and do things for us, but we didn't give ourselves a fighting chance. That first half, 12 to 8 minute mark, when it was a 2-point ball game, and the next thing you know, we only scored 19 points left the half. So, didn't have a lot of good to talk about there, but we just got to, keep our fight and keep working on those, the runs.
And then against Auburn, you were down 19, but you cut it down to 4 at one point before eventually losing by 10. But still, do you like the resiliency of the team in the second half?
Yeah, and so then now, we go into Auburn, just the utmost confidence. Everybody's ready to be moving forward and learning from our mistakes. We understand what we're doing, and we got in that same point again. And we were all talking about on the floor. We're not, let's stop this bleeding, let's stop this run, and it took us a while. It took us until about the 12-minute mark in the second half to really bounce back, and then of course AO Anmanyuku is really stepping out and really trying to separate from the pack and kind of give us some consistency on the floor. But there was a lot to take home about the fight there, and I think when you're battling like this and you're trying to find your identity, and you need different types of moments at critical times, and I think everyone's beginning to see that. Who's going to step up and just kind of get out of our own way here when we're struggling.
You brought up Anmanyuku a couple times, a career high 21 points.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen her this aggressive, this confident on the floor?
She's always been an offensive spark. There's absolutely no argument to that. I think her defense has helped her, give her and find more time on the floor. So she's not having to guard, the 6'3" people, because she played a 5 in high school. So she was behind the 8 ball a little bit of knowing what she has to play in college on the defensive end. And so she's really become a lot more versatile. We can use her in different ways, and the better she plays, I think you'll see the residual now between her playing better. Candace Bonnet has gotten her shot back. She didn't get to really show it in the Auburn game because of getting in foul trouble. It'll take some pressure off of Shantae, and it'll open it up for her a lot more. And then again, if we can get Amy Payton consistently a little bit more on offensive end, she's doing a better job on the defensive end. And then get Andriana to continue to understand how to run this team. They know their roles really, really well. They're embracing it. We're not liking the outcome at all, and we have to. This is the job of the coaching staff as well as the team to. We have the information faced in front of us of what we needed to control. To give us a chance to win each game, and now we've got to do it.
Now Candace Bond, she's limited to 13 minutes against Auburn. She's had 3 fouls in every game. How do you find that balance of she's so aggressive on the defensive end and keeping her on the floor?
Well, and she's guarding the best player every night after night, and and you're going to get that one call. That's what always hurts her. The one call that it was a phantom call, and kind of gets in her head a little bit. She had a phantom call in the in the first half, and then. And then had another one back to back right after that, and it was in the second half. And you can't afford to do that. They called something random, and then she retaliated with another foul. So she's too important for us. She knows. I hear the players saying that we need you on the floor, we need you to be here. So she's gonna have to be a little bit more heady, being that she's drawn the best defender night after night.
And Auburn applying a 1-2-2 press the entire game. Not an excuse for 28 turnovers, but is that the most aggressive defense you're going to see this year?
I think people will. I felt like people will press us like they always do. I mean, I think that Auburn does what they do. We knew going into the game, we'd worked on it 2 days straight. A few times we would obviously forget, going and leave Andriana for a second and not give her a wingman behind, and then we forget how we needed to attack that and then try to go, and then we got passive with it. When it got more aggressive, they got a couple turnovers, and we get a little bit more defensive and got passive with it. And we watched film pretty intently, and we see the mistakes that we made, and it really wasn't as bad as it looked when they were out there doing it. And it's, again, you just got some utmost experience of someone doing that to you the whole time. Who knows? Drexel has when we get into conference, people have different makeshift presses, people do things. But we will be ready. The teams that we have faced have really prepared us for what lies ahead.
Despite the losing streak, are things still upbeat in practice?
100%. I mean, if you read I was going to make a comment about AO. She got the Hofstra Student of the Week, Athlete of the Week award, and there was tons of tweets about her last night. She's the most humble kid, on the team next to Shantae, and so it's cute. I mean, they, none of us are happy. Every of us were, really like punched in the gut because we felt really good about going into this Auburn game. And, it's just those moments where those critical points in the game where we need positive energy on the floor. If you watch the video, if you see it, the bench was going crazy. Don Thomas Palmer's set up and clapping and sit-ups, and Devin's like high-fiving, and they're trying to lift the spirits on the floor when those that were at the game could experience what happened. It was 2 or 3 like wide open missed layups. There were just some things that are going to happen in the game, and it's how we respond. And again, this is you kind of have it faced in front of you now. Now we've got to fix it, and that's our job.
And the trip down to Auburn, a homecoming of sorts for assistant Bill Ferrari,
yeah.
Video coordinator. What was this trip like for him?
Oh, I mean, obviously, you punch in the gut too, because we thought we could get that W, but to have family around is always great. So that that was good.
And then you don't play again until December 21st, so you have basically 2 weeks off. What do you plan to work on coming days?
Big important stretch. A balance between us finishing strong in the classroom. So obviously making sure we give them plenty of days that they can, ample time to finish out, their exam schedule, and everything is very, very important, and kind of get that peace of mind, off. Everything gets pretty overwhelming. With the hurricane, you can see the amount of things that were dumped on them. I mean, we come in on Auburn on Sunday night, and Tay and Bond, Shantae Evans and Candace Bond, are going right to Hammer Lab until all the wee hours of the night for everything that they have to do for the coming week. So it'll be nice for them to have some good physical practices where they're being pushed and then staying in shape and getting some good running, and then getting back to the grind of working on situational things and things that we need to do to make ourselves better so game time becomes easier. That's the whole point. Practice should be a lot harder, and then game time, you should be able to take a deep breath and execute the things so, that you need to be executing in no matter what's faced. And I think that's what it is with this. I never like to use the word young. It's just about inexperience, though. Some of the things that you're seeing occurring on the TV, when you're watching the video after the fact, you just need to continue to be faced with these situations. So finish strong with the classroom, and then really go to the grind for us to get ready so we can finish out this holiday stretch, with Ole Miss, with Northwestern, play Norfolk State in January 3rd, get 3 big wins as we head into the conference, and be riding on a little bit of a positive high to show that all of this trials and tribulations of playing these teams that are pretty good is going to pay off to our success of being a better team. And that's where you got to stay steadfast and true. If it was easy, everybody would be doing it. This what makes us all, or figure out why we do what we do, because when it's tough, you got to get better.
Head coach Krista Kilburn-Steveskey, thanks as always for the time.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
I'm Rob Joyce. Thanks, Hofstra fans, for tuning in to the WB Mason's Coaches Report with Krista Kilburn-Steveskey.